Believe me, my friends, Jesus doesn't say that it's the devil that can destroy you. It's not the drugs that can destroy you. It's not the lust for women that can destroy you, but it's the lust for money. All that women, all come under this one thing, the lust for money and power. I have the privilege, by pure grace, to live in an economy that is very different. It's not just I have the grace. This has happened all throughout history, where people have a special grace to live in an economy that is not in the economy of the world. There is a way that God wants to bless you that is very different.
Your love got me feeling so high, got me feeling so high, got me feeling like I can change the world tonight.
Okay, so we are now learning about a very important topic. What is that? The Father's business, but the worm. Okay, so listen, okay? What I want to tell you is this. I want to tell you that we are a very practical church, okay? So we bring revelation, but we also dish it out to you in practical, living language and something that you can bring into your life in a very simple sense, okay? But it's revelation. It's taken from the heavens and filtered down into earth, into language, into practical steps that you can do that is anointed, that works. So, and we rarely, I mean, we're known as mystics, but we rarely openly at like a Sunday service talk about too many mystical things, okay? We do have other avenues where we teach, like CMS, the School of Prayer, and different things where we go into this stuff. Why? Because experience is something that is for you. It's for your growth, and then you can probably build on it. But it's not something, if I keep telling you about an angel that ran from the left to the west of my house and blah, 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 you're not going to be like, you're going to want your own angel to do that, right? But so Kirby rarely brings something in such a central focus. But this invaded our space and beckoned us to say, listen, talk about this. There's something here for you in this season. Okay, it is something that we're taking from Solomon, from the time of David, from the building of the temple. You might have to adjust a few notches to understand and take it in, but Kirby's an awesome teacher and he will lay it for you. But it's mystical. It's mystical because you're not just getting practical messages. You're also getting mystical, supernatural word. Okay, so that when it comes to you, it's not like you're taking an inspirational message and saying, these are the 3 steps to achieve this. You want the supernatural in your life. You want things to happen inexplicably. You want things to happen like that's going to blow your mind away, that you can't explain, that nobody can explain, because it is nothing short of miraculous and supernatural. You want that. So this will open that realm for you. This is the season where we need to open the realm for you. We have always focused WOWLife as a church inside out. You look at anything on our journey, it's always the innermost man, the innermost parts where he desires truth. And from there we go out. We never focused on building the outside first. We never focused on you coming to a pretty place. We don't care about this outside place, because what matters first is in here. In here first. In here first. You know, if we're standing in a certain place and the Lord says, do this, are you going to hear his voice or are you going to hear man's voice? This is the test. You know, Kirby and we were talking today, and we were talking to the young ones, speaking about marriage, being faithful, the journey, the walk, and different challenges that, you know, that people normally have in their lives. But he was just saying how we've had a very different journey. And he could share things with me because, I don't know, I trust him. He can tell me the most craziest stories. I trust him. Why do I trust him? Because there is a God. He loves this God. Otherwise, my whole life, his whole life is a lie. It's a lie. It's not authentic. We cannot stand here. So wherever he goes, whatever he does, I don't need to know. God knows. God knows. Wherever I go, whatever I do, he doesn't need to know. Nobody needs to know. God knows. I don't care who knows. I care that God knows. And that's the innermost being. Now, I'm not saying this to condemn you. I'm not saying it to condemn you. I'm saying it because this is the journey. This is the place we want to be. Why do we do what we do? Not to present something fancy, not to build our own empires. We're doing it because there is a God. We are answerable to this God. If we cheat you or lie to you, we're lying to Him first. And that is the life and the journey. This is the authentic gospel. This is what matters, the conscience. He desires truth in your innermost being. Your conscience, your inner part, the secret place where you hear His voice, where you talk to Him, where He's real. Okay? And that's what it's about. And that's what Kay is going to open out even more for you. Because as we go along, this is our journey together as a family. Okay? And it doesn't matter what we've done, where we've made mistakes. We can be before Him in truth. Okay? And we can build from there, fresh and new. His mercies are fresh and new every morning. All right? So are you ready? All right. Then please join me in welcoming Kay and the Word.
Thank you. Welcome, guys. Amen. Yes. There they go. Yeah. That's good. You got it. Yeah. You got it. You're getting it. Yeah. You're getting it. That's good. That was very good. All right. We'll get it right. Okay. But that's so. Isn't that song cool? Yeah. Very cool. Okay, Sanka, thank you very much. We want that song on every YouTube and every teaching that we have because we need a theme song because we are truly about to change the world. Okay. I'm not just saying it. I'm not trying to make you feel good. Okay. I've been to the USA. I've seen what is happening there. It is amazing what is happening with WOWLife Church and the people that are listening to this gospel. It is amazing the people who pay the money. Just understand, it wasn't cheap to pay $500 to enter a hall. Just understand that. You see, $500 to enter the hall that we teach at. And that's rather expensive. The last time we were in San Diego with Manju and Philip, it was $1,000 for 5 hours to spend with us. Just understand. Okay? And I think they expected only 60 people. I think there was 100. Okay? That was in San Diego. This time, I think Linda was expecting, I'm not sure how much she was expecting, but she didn't think it'll fly. I think, Linda, don't get angry with me when listening to this. But at the end, we had like 300 people it's completely packed. You get what I'm trying to say? So it's not, in any way or form, people have to put their money where their mouth is. Do you understand that? Okay? So if someone said the gospel is cheap, then I think you missed it. Okay? The money doesn't come to me, the money goes to church. We do what we have to do for church. We have 670 churches. How do you think we run all that? We don't depend on people to finance us. The leaders here finance our churches. And we thank God for the USA because now the USA has come alongside of us and we've got our churches there and our leaders there. We have 200 leaders there who support us and they're amazing. They're absolutely amazing and they support us in all the work that we do. You know, guys, this is about my Father's business. So I'm talking about my Father's business very passionately because Jesus said it like this, and I'm not even close to what He's doing. But how He said it was, He walked into Jerusalem at that time. If you looked at Jerusalem, you'll see that the first time was 14 or 12 or something like that, the bar mitzvah, when He turned up there. And when He says, this is about my Father's business. And who is He talking about? He's talking to the head, the leaders of the churches, and not only the churches, but also everyone, the rabbis at that time, they had the economy in their hands. And so just understand, a 12-year-old kid about to do his bar mitzvah, just understand this. He's there at his bar mitzvah, and he's literally telling them, he said, what are you doing? And he's lecturing them about, and he says, what is this about? He said, this is about my Father's business. Okay? And so, fast forward, so many years later, you have Jesus again visiting the temple, but this time he's a bit different. He's not a 12-year-old kid. He's 33 years old, okay, and he has a death wish, and he's on a suicide mission because he's still on his Father's business. If you listen to Dave Hodgson, he'll explain it better than I can, but he'll explain the ventures. The word ventures come from the word bank. Okay, and so those days the Jews, you understand, if you did any bit of Shakespeare, you'll understand that Shylock was a Jew. And so the whole economy of the Renaissance economy was financed by the Jews. Okay, the Italian, the Medicis, were financed by the Jews. If you go online and say Medici and Jewish finance, you'll understand the Medici bank was financed by Jews, the Shylocks. That's why the story is in Shakespeare. Okay, so the Jews financed the whole Renaissance and the economy and all the art and everything that you can imagine today. What you call Western civilization was financed by these guys. Okay, they had the money and they pumped it into the Italian Renaissance and in that whole at that time the Vatican and the whole thing. So now you have to understand why I'm saying this is when you understand the Jews, the bench. So that's where the bench comes from. So when Jesus went in there and he toppled the benches, what he's doing is bankrupting the economy. He's turning the benches upside down is the bankrupting of the economy, of the Jewish economy at that time. So you must understand it's not priests who are selling the doves. Don't get a mistake. There is the temple, the city temple, and then outside is an economy that is based on false values. Do you understand that? He's not attacking priests. What is he attacking? He's attacking the system of economy that considered itself the ones who had the power, and everyone depended on that economy. So they were the Shylocks of that time. You want to reverse it back. You understand that? And so they had set up their banks like the banks are set around your businesses. Where you go to. And so sometimes people ask me the question like, when you transfer money from this account to that account, you must say the video, this time 100,000, maybe over $100,000 in one day got transferred up and down like that when we go to the USA. One lady, $300,000, and people, $300,000 is a lot of money to disappear from your account. Or in loans. Just one person. That session we did about $500,000, like that kind of stuff. But just understand, someone is not getting paid. Don't you think I know that? But I understand the miraculous in that way because I understand that God is judging the economic system still. He's still judging, and these little signs and wonders, these miracles, you're not supposed to live off them. Why an angel, if you need an angel to do it, why an angel will do such a thing is because it's a judgment of the system of economy. You understand? It's like a Robin Hood kind of scene going on, isn't it? Yeah, when that happens, like, whose money is he taking? Like, whose money have I got in my account? Like, forget it. Okay, it's all just corrupt. And therefore, God is still in the business of using his people to bankrupt the false economies of the world. Okay, and I can talk a lot about this, okay, what is going on in the world today and the wars and all that kind of stuff. And sometime when you have a time with me and you enjoy a nice glass of wine or a single malt, something, come and sit with me and we can talk about that, okay? But make an appointment. But the fact of the matter is, but I can't teach all that here, okay? But trust me, the economy of the world is false, okay? I have the privilege, by pure grace, to live in an economy that is very different. And you must understand, it's not just I have a grace. I know people who have the same grace. Okay, it's not just like I'm some special guy doing this. This has happened all throughout history, where people have a special grace to live in an economy that is not in the economy of the world. And unfortunately or fortunately, we are in this system, and we've seen God do amazing things. Like, if I tell you my life story, you'll be blown away. I mean, trust me, even if you have $100 billion, you'll still be blown away. You'll still be blown away if I tell you the stories of how God has just blessed us. It's not like, and it's not come with grabbing and toil and cheating and manipulating someone and promising something that is not true or anything like that. There's a way that God wants to bless you that is very different. And we experience it. People say, Kirby, how did it happen to you? I said, I don't know. It was like the wind was blowing. I got caught in the wind. My sales were up, that's for sure. That's all that happened. Okay, I put my sales up and then suddenly, well, I'm here. And then the others came in. I remember Philip came in. Philip lived in a little house. Not the acreage he's on now. Okay, he lived in a little house. I remember at that point of time. And the first thing he did was when he first gave me his first check, I think it was $1 million. Oh no, it was a bundle of cash, that is, $1 million. And we were in my house in Narayanpeta. Okay? And he came me, he said, Kirby, I want you to see my house. He said, I've got some money I want to sow into you, but I want you to see my house. So I drive down, where is the place down, Koida, Polhengoda, and I turn up at his little house about the size of this house. I don't know, I'm not exaggerating, I'm not sure, but maybe this hall, really, Maybe half the hall, right? Okay, this is Philip. But his heart, his sales were up. His sales were up. He knew that he had found God. He'd been to churches, he built churches, been to churches. He said, "Okay, what you guys are carrying, I want to be a part of it. I want to partner with you. And believe me, at that time, my vehicles alone, people are talking Jeeps now. Okay, I had Grand Cherokee, I bought that for $15 million. Then after that, I bought I bought a Grand Cherokee diesel 30 years ago. My vehicle at that time was $65 million. We are talking about 25 years ago, man. 65 million, my vehicles. So please, okay, we know, I'm not trying to have money now. Okay, I didn't get into business to have money. I had money, and I'm like, how the heck did this happen? That's the first thing that happened to me. Like, how did I end up with being so young, with so much money, $25 million plant in Dubai, partners with Abdul Rahman Al Koze, every bag that you carry in the airport, that was my partnership. Okay, we set that whole factory up. You see, so I was like, how did this happen? All I did was, I remember me very carefully telling God one day, I was desperate. I was absolutely desperate. Nothing was working. I was having a little car. I think it was one of these station wagons. My dad liked station wagons. Okay, and I remember writing a little poem, "Stop the World, I Want to Get Off." And I saw how hard it was, because all my friends, I went to St. Thomas Prep School, probably one of the best schools in the world. Okay, you're not right. St. Thomas Prep School. My friends, believe me, man, my friends owned everything. Just think about it. And then if you're not my friend at school, when I went out and hung out, they owned everything else. And they still do. Okay, so, you don't get into prep school, maybe now it's easier, but then it's hard to get in. Okay, only 1,500 kids, or less, no? 600, sorry, 600. Sorry, I'm not sure. Very, very little, okay? And you had been interviewed and all kinds of things. I don't know how I got in. So, the fact of the matter is, I look at them and I think, my God, by the time I ever have to sit with them and be able to buy them dinner, or my dad was, he was not a poor guy. He was wealthy, we had horses, we were okay. But where I had to aspire to was far bigger than I could even imagine. I couldn't do it on my own. My dad worked for someone. He was on the board of some of the biggest companies, but I know what happens when you retire. You work in a corporate, sometimes you work in a corporate all your life, you think that you own everything, you're the CEO or the director on the board of a massive billion-dollar company, but when you retire, you think you own everything, but you don't. Now, I can see this, my dad, I love my dad dearly, but he couldn't. Because he could call one phone call. Okay, my story, I'll tell you a story. My dad, the company that he worked for used to buy a whole lot of paper to make their tea in the machines from a certain man in Sri Lanka who's very, very well known. And when I was 16, 17, I didn't want to go to university and stuff like that. So he called this guy up and he said, can I give Kay a job? So this guy called my dad and said, please send Kirby, he's going to get a job. When I got to my desk every day, there's a secretary, there's GQ magazine with Vogue magazine on my table, okay, and a BMW with a driver to take me home. The reason that was because my dad worked for this company, right, that bought all the paper from this guy. So he needed to make sure that my dad was very happy. So his son was more than happy. But all I had to do was read magazines and get paid and have a driver and BMW. Because dad's company, that he was just a director, he was on the board there, would buy all the paper from him. That's the power Dad had at that time. But I could see this man, now when is Dad going to retire now? Dad has not got anything on his own. He's going to end up at 65, retire, whatever it is, and maybe they'll give him a golden handshake. But trust me, there's nothing that can do for me that I want to aspire to. About 100 million rupees at least, or maybe even less. Okay? What am I going to do with that? I'll run. My friends used to bust that up in a night. believe me, I promise you, is busted up on a night, that type of money. Okay, so I said, God, you have to do a miracle. You need to be able to raise me up. But why? Why? For what? What is this about? Why do we need money? You see? And at that point of time, I used to pray. I got to know God. Stop the world. I want to get off. I started creating my why. You got to create your why. Why? So why do you want money? Why do you want this? Why do you want that? And so I started creating, and every year was a formation of my why. And today my why has become stronger, deeper, bigger, better, faster than anything else. And if you have a proper why and a proper gravity for your why and your conscience is clear, I promise you, man, I'll tell you, that's your heart, man. I'll tell you, storms can come, okay? Things can try and rock you, but there is no way that the foundation that you stand on, the cornerstone, which is Christ, the cornerstone, which is Christ, is unshakable. And he says, if you're a wise man, you'll build your house on this rock. On this rock. And that rock is called a cornerstone. Now, let me tell you about a cornerstone. Okay? The cornerstone was a man who laid down his life. That means he didn't try to grab. He said, the kingdom of God suffers violence, but the violent try to take it by force. This is what they say. The kingdom of God suffers violence, and people always want to grab and take and all this kind of stuff. And Jesus didn't do it that way. When he was offered the world by the adversary, he refused, and he said he wanted the world, and he was offered the world. Please understand, that's what he wanted. When Satan offered him the world, that's exactly what he wanted. So what gets the temptation? But the offer was, you can have it, but to do that, you'll have to grab and do different things. It's politics, isn't it? Huh? You'll have to worship me means worship the things of the world. Become a part of me, and I'll give you this. And he says, no, the only way I'll get the world is through my laid down life. And I will win the world, and I'll win it by laying my life down. And that was the negotiation that he had with the adversary. And so the adversary is testing all of us. Okay, and then I meet people like Dave Hodgson, and they told him the same thing. They said, here's $5 billion. And he said, no, $5 billion. Like, how do you get that? And he says, the same story. The same story. The same miraculous, crazy. Like if I listen to Dave, like, man, I know this story. I know this story. I know this God. I know you and I worship the same God. Your God is my God, Dave. That's why he's my covering. Because I've experienced this God just like that. But it depends on your heart. It depends on your conscience. How do you want to do it? You want to do it with a laid down life, or you want to grab and toil and labor and all that? But by the time you get it, you'll probably lose your wife, your husband, and your friends, and all that. You betrayed your partners, and you made $1 billion. It's not worth it, man. Yeah. I sat with a rich guy one day who's building massive apartments in this country. And he said, oh, Kirby, I do the same things that you do. You know, you also look after people. I also look after people in massive apartments. I pulled a 5,000 note out. I took it to his face. And I said, this is 5,000 rupees. I said, this is my 5,000 rupees. I said, pull out your 5,000 rupees. So he pulled out of his 5,000 rupees. I said, do you think it's the same? He said, don't be foolish. Don't be foolish. It might look the same currency. But in your environment, like if you're in America, you have dollars. In Sri Lanka, you have rupees. Huh? With Kirby de Lanerolle, your 5,000, my 5,000 very different. I said, do you get your 5,000? You rob, you stole. I said, how is that? I see you partying with me now. Where's your wife? Good. How are you getting this 5,000 rupees? Where's your partner? 5 years ago. Where is he? Your 5,000 rupees and my 5,000 rupees are very different, my friend. I said, my 5,000 rupees didn't come like that. My 5,000 rupees came with a God who blessed me, raised me up. And even if someone came and gave me 5,000 rupees, I didn't sell him anything. When they give me the 5,000 rupees even, they come and say, here, Kay, thank you for your love. I said, thank you. I said, completely different 5,000 rupees. The toil and the labor, the sweat, the toil, the labor, the sweat, the toil, the labor, the sweat, the stone that you built your house on, brother. That rock is different to my rock. You would have paid the same amount, but the stone is different, brother. And you put that stone in your building. What you've done to put that stone there, and what I've got to put my stone, completely different. Don't be foolish. I said, I'm very surprised that you make billions. Because you have to have some brains. Because it's completely different, the way God wants to bless you. But it'll take you to think of things very differently. And if you're going through something today, you're going through a life lesson, my friend, don't look at this lesson. And I'm telling you, the whole world is before you because this God has kept his word then and is keeping his word now. There's no different. This same God still lives. Jesus walks into the temple again. And this time he says it like this. He says, the zeal of my Father's house has eaten me up. Do you understand that? There's a zeal for the Father's house. Okay? And I don't know whether you understand those words. That means there is an anointing for the Father's house. That means when you wake up in the morning till you go to sleep at night, all you think about is my Father's house. Before that, he said, I'm about my Father's business. This time he walks in there, he topples the economy, and he says, the zeal, that means I am so zealous. And the zeal, the passion I have for my church is eating me alive. That's the passion. That is important. The zeal. Why do we do this? What is this about? Why am I talking to you? Why am I so passionate? Why am I fiery? Because the zeal of my Father's house is eating me alive. And all I want to do is live for him, breathe for him, love him the way he deserves to be loved, and to represent him in this country and all the nation in the way he's supposed to be represented. Because I do believe that it's a poor job that has been done. And if there's anyone who can do it, I believe WOWLife Church can do it. I'm not saying we're the only people. But I can tell you that we are a passionate group of people and we truly, authentically live for God. Okay? So, and I want to continue with that. Okay? And so I'm not afraid to talk to you about money. Okay? I'm not afraid to talk to you about money. I'm not afraid to talk about giving. I'm not ashamed of the gospel. There's only two aspects in life. Believe me, my friends. Jesus doesn't say the love of, he doesn't say, when he talks about he doesn't say the love, what is it, when you're talking of the adversary, the devil, he's not explaining to you that it's the devil that can destroy you. It's not the drugs that can destroy you. It's not the alcohol. It's not the the lust for women. Okay? Which is a terrible thing to have. Okay? That can destroy you. But it's the lust for money. Because believe me, okay, that encompasses all. All that, the women, all come under this one thing, it's a lust for money and power. And that lust, he competes. He doesn't say the devil. He says the love of money is the root of it. He doesn't say the devil is the root of all evil. Just think about it, why this is the most important message. He says it is the lust, that lust is the very thing that blocks you from getting it, man. It's the very thing that causes the offense with people like me. Because I'm not saying it's easy, please understand, I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying there's such a grace that comes upon you when you live for God. So, he says, the zeal of my Father's house has eaten me up. And then he goes and he says, and he goes and topples the tables and the whole thing. And they say, give me a sign. What authority? This is what they ask him. Like, who the heck do you think you are? What authority do you have to come and topple the tables and destroy our economy like this? Okay? That's what he says. The people challenge him. And you know what Jesus says? He says, there's going to be a sign. And I'll give you what the sign is. He says, break this synagogue down and I'll raise it up in 3 days. Okay? And he was talking about the new temple synagogue, which is the body of Christ, which is each one of you. He said, no more will we function like that. He says, break this thing, and the sign will be, I will raise up a generation, and the stones will start speaking and testifying again. Okay, I'll raise up a generation that love God with all their heart, with all their soul, with all their might. You understand that? And it will not be this thing. Okay? And they will not worship money and consumerism anymore. But to not worship money and consumerism, people say, but then you mustn't talk about money. No, it's the biggest mistake. So they say, you know what? Money is, the love of money is the root of all evil, so a pastor should not preach about it. No! The pastor should preach about money and see what is going on in your heart, if you know me well enough, to see whether there is actually a love of money, because if you're starting getting offended, then there might be a love of money. You're getting offended that I'm talking about money, but I promise you I'm not buying my Porsche or my my cars or shoes with your money. And you know that. My accounts are audited with the best of the best sitting here. Okay? So, if I'm not doing that, I'm talking of serving the poor and doing different things, and people have a problem, I'm not the one who's in love with money. You need a challenge so that you'll understand, oh my God, like what's going on in my heart? Why am I getting offended when someone talks about money? Do you understand that? Like, what's wrong with this? Why can't we understand what Jesus said about finances and money? And that ability to, there's such testing in this area. I'll tell you, there's such testing. It tests you in every way. It tests you in every way. Believe me, this thing in the world. It'll test you in every single way in the world because it's not this or that. If you go, stop drinking, is it stopping drinking? Or have you wondered, it comes from all sides. So you have to understand it. To win over it, you got to rule over it. And the best way to rule over it is to give it. You just get it. It's to give it. If you give it, you know you have authority. You understand it? And that's why we give a lot of money, not because I'm now trying to get some authority in it. We give because, that we understand how God works. God is a giver, an extravagant giver. Okay, he's so extravagant, he gave his only begotten son. Do you understand that? He's an extravagant giver. So I just want to be like my father. I'm about my father's business. So why do you give? Because, oh my God, I want to be like him. He gave his only begotten son. We're not even close. You got it? Yeah. Now, let's get to the Shamir business. Okay? The Shamir business is very interesting because, two experiences. One experience before we started building, we went from one church to 600 churches. The first time I had experience with the Shamir thing, I didn't know what it was. And then I honestly thought, like, what's this? We got scared because I never heard of a glowworm before, or a glowworm coming to you or whatever it is, and I didn't know what it was. I heard a bit of it before, but I never studied it. And after that, we went from one church to 600 churches. Just understand. The last time I had this experience. And then I forgot about it. I never connected it with it. I connected it a little bit. I studied about it. I explained it to Fiona. And then coming from America, this time again, I'm on the plane and I'm reading a book. And I'm trying to mind my own business. Okay? And not his business. And as I'm reading this book, I will go into a daydream, which we call visions, okay? And in this vision, here we go again. This thing is right there again. And it comes to me again, and this time in a much more flamboyant form. And I have a tremendous experience, which I won't go into detail. But I knew it marks a time for the church. And I know it marks a time for you as the people of this church. And I want you to understand that this Shamir thing is very interesting because just imagine, God wants his temple built. This is the temple of Solomon. And he wants his temple built, but he gives Solomon a very, very clear instruction. Say, lift your hands up into glory right now. Father, right now, I ask you to do miracles in our midst, Lord. Right now. Right now. Just let your angels do miracles even as we are sitting here, Lord. Let your miracles flow, Lord, as we talk about your glory, your presence, what you're doing with people and their lives. I ask, Lord, that you will touch each one, Lord. Even right now when we go home, there'll be testimony after testimony of supernatural encounters, just like you did for me with these people. You'll raise them up for your glory, for your purposes, God. In Jesus' name, amen. You will even see on your phones right now, there'll be miracles happening because this kind of thing brings miracles, okay? Now, you see, so when you talk of the supernatural stuff, few things happen. You see that my nose start running, okay? Yeah, that's also supernatural, but it'll happen all the time. Okay, now, here's something that is very, very important. So he gives Solomon a task of building the temple. Yeah.
Draw on this if you are moving into new properties, shifting houses, business locations. Draw on this especially. Watch and see the glory of the Lord manifest in these areas in your life.
Listen, guys, just to give you just to understand how serious we are about this stuff. Like, I just finished America. My main intercessor, her name is Tommy. Okay? Tommy, a year ago, the Lord, when we're talking about this stuff, the Lord cancels debt to $300,000 of student loan. Okay? Tommy, she's put the thing up. Tommy goes back, her debt is $600,000. or more, no? I think more than that. 500,000, 400, nearly about $600,000 of debt. Okay? When we finished the conference, she goes back and literally her whole debt gets restructured. Okay, that is not as supernatural as before, but it's still the same thing. Okay, the people, another person who comes here, Jenny Sabato, you all know her very well. Okay, I mean, testimony after testimony, $500,000. I mean, these are not small amounts. Come on, we're in Sri Lanka, right? Okay, that's 150 million rupees, 200 million rupees, like that. Massive testimony. So hear me out listen carefully to what I'm saying. Okay, I'm a peculiar kind of guy, and I'm telling you stuff that really happened, and it's happened to us. Yeah. Okay, and we are not looking for miracles to cancel debt. We're looking for supernatural favor to come on people's lives. You need supernatural favor. I'm the one who wrote, stop the word I want to get off because it's too difficult. But trust me, when grace hits you, you're in. You're in. And you need the grace. And there's a season coming. I'm telling you, once I had this experience, I know there's a grace coming upon your businesses, upon your lives, that your businesses will become consecrated businesses unto God. But when God raises you up, believe me, it's for the kingdom. Don't ever make this mistake. It's for the kingdom. And it'll be supernatural. And it'll be breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough. And it's happened constantly throughout the Bible to people. Now here we are. So he gives Solomon, he says, I want you to build a temple, but your father will not build a temple. And his father was David. Why will your father not build a temple? Because your father, he had blood on his hands. Blood on his hands means he had toil and labor and effort. I mean, the greatest work is war, isn't it? If you want to talk about works, what is the greatest work? It's war. Okay? So he said, I want you to build, and Solomon means peace. Solomon means shalom. Suleiman. Okay? It means peace. So he says, I want this done not with toil and labor and effort. Okay? And so I want the temple be built by your son Solomon, because it has been done not in that toil and that labor, because I want it to be a grace that will flow. Okay? That's the key about this. So it can't be through coaxing. It can't be through me giving you a gold card for being the biggest sower. Philippines doesn't have a gold card. You might have a gold card, but a platinum, but not given from the church. Okay? I can't give him a title. Like something. Whatever those titles are. Okay? That because you are the sower, now you will get this. We can't coax you into this. This is a matter of your heart. I can't sensationalize this stuff for you. God has to talk to you. So he said, the way this has to be built is, you'll build this temple, but you will build it not with hands. You'll not have to use anything that is an instrument of work. Wow. That temple of Solomon was built without any instrument of work. That means you can't cut, you can't chop, you can't use a chisel, you can't use an axe, you can't use a sword, you can't do anything. How is he going to do it? And that's when this thing called Shamir came across it. And in Jeremiah 17, the beauty, it explains what the Shamir is, and that is when they use the word in Jeremiah 17. I won't go there because it's a long verse. But actually, let's go there. Yeah, let's go there because I want you to see it, because it's a very important verse, this verse, because it deals with the heart, okay? So watch this, okay? So, here we are. Can I have Jeremiah 17 up? The sin of Judah is written with a pen of iron, with a point. This word point of diamond is the mouth of the Shamir. It is engraved. Do you understand it? That's the translation. Okay, they didn't know, when they translated English, they didn't know what that was. Like, what is the Shamir? They said something so hard as a diamond that can engrave stone. That's what they mean, okay? So it's something so hard. So he said their sin was written, okay, on their hearts like with a Shamir worm that eats and engraves it on their heart. That's what it means. On the tablets of their hearts and on the horns of your altars. While the children remember their altars, and he goes on, keep going. And this is what is interesting, okay? Verse 3, on my mountain, he says, verse 3 says, I will give as plunder your wealth, all your treasures. You see, what's going to happen is, when there is sin, and when there is guilt, come on, and when there is accusation, and when it's engraved so strong on your heart, he says, your wealth will be taken away and plundered. Is it there? Is it there? and your high places of sin within all your borders. And you even yourself shall let go of your heritage which I gave you. That means your inheritance also will go. He says, I will cause you to serve your enemies. Wow. Are you with a boss that hates you and you can't get out? That's it. Okay. I will cause you to serve your enemies. Wow, that's so cool. Okay. In the land which you do not know, for you have kindled a fire in my anger, which I have burned forever. Thus says the Lord. Cursed is the man who trusts in man. Say, cursed is the man who trusts in man. Cursed is the man who trusts in man. Cursed is the man who trusts in man. Is it there? And makes his flesh his strength. That's the problem here. Okay? He's done it by his own strength, by his own power, whose heart departs from the Lord. You see? And he goes on, and this is just go up there. And they say, blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord. Is it there? Wow. And whose hope is the Lord. For he shall be like a tree planted by the waters, which spreads out its roots by the river, and he will not fear when heat comes, but its leaves will be green, and will not be anxious in the years of drought. Not that he will not be anxious during drought, nor will cease from yielding fruit. Do you understand that? And he explains again to the heart. And what is he trying to say? He's trying to explain that the living stones that build the temple, because if they break this temple down, because I'll build it up, these stones that are brought into the temple cannot be ones that are coaxed into, that are rewarded into, that are bribed into the kingdom. You understand that? And therefore, I stopped watching TV after a little while because I believed that they were bribing people into the kingdom. Sorry for saying this, but it was not on. And some of them were selling oils and Bibles and inks and beads and all kinds of things that Jesus went and threw upside down and said, bankrupt this thing. What is going on here? You see? And businesses, you see, he said, this is not the way we're going to do this. You are a son of the living God. You don't need anything to tell you to be able to look at the house of God, to have a zeal for the house of God. Do you need that? Do you need me to tell you, if you give, you'll be blessed? Do you need me to tell you that? I mean, babes do. Come on, man, we're dealing with a real God. God, Fiona started this. Like that. We're dealing with a real God who sees you, man. I know that my heart has been sold out to God. No one had to coax me into it. I don't believe that you need to be coaxed into it. WOW is not a church that needs to be coaxed in. Do I need to tell you that you'll be blessed? Or do you know that your partner is God? Very different thing. Very, very different way to work. I remember a time I was 150 million rupees in debt. Okay? This was now, we're talking of, this is before Alakos, yeah? We're talking of, anyway, long time ago, 150 million rupees in debt. We're talking 150 million rupees in debt. 20 years ago, that's a lot of money, okay? And Dad's house has been kept on the bank, Parate, all this kind of stuff. And at that point of time, I was supporting a church, okay? There was a pastor who came to me. Today, that church is the biggest church in this country. 8,000 people sit at one time. Okay, his name is Pastor. Okay, it's a single service. We built that church. Everything. The first time I met him, my first thing was the zeal for my father's house. He was in Polonnaru, man. He's come by bus. Okay, young guy, passionate for God. I don't know what happened to him now. I'm sad. Yeah, passionate for God. But now the other thing is eating him up the other way around. But the fact of the matter is, passionate for God when I met him. Okay. This guy would come and serve me from a bus, and I give him credit for that. Anytime, I always tell him, this guy passed. Right? I give him credit for that. He would come by bus just to serve me, not expecting anything. And these are my free church pastors. These are the guys I love and I live for. That's why I love the free church pastors, because I remember this guy when he first started. I don't know where he is now. I have to say that as well. Other people can go the wrong way. It's important that I'm talking against someone. It's important that I say what I say now as an apostolic leader. Okay? He's not the same guy. But when he started off as a young guy, passionate. Okay? Passionate for God, would come and serve me. And I saw the zeal that he had for God. And because of that, I said, you know what? I said, God, blessed me that I can support him. The first check I gave him was 700,000 rupees. We are talking of 25 years ago. Okay, 700,000 rupees. And after that, I was working for the government. My whole salary in the government, my whole salary, including my petrol. Because you can have salary and then petrol they give you on the side, including my petrol, everything. You can ask, and if the ministry will know, goes to his account. 10 years. Yeah, building up, making sure that he has everything. If he wanted a vehicle, he got a vehicle. Everything he ever dreamt of, so that I don't want him to wake up with sweat on his brow, thinking of what he needs to do and how he needs to serve God. I don't want that to happen. I want him to have everything in life. And so I started funding. When they tried to beat him up in Polonnaruwa from the Prime Minister's President's house at that time, we used to get calls in there, get him saved, because this guy was a fabulous guy at that time. And we used to support because the zeal of my father's house. And that's how today we have 670 churches, because we sowed into one at that time. Don't worry, there's a reason why we have 670. I don't have to prove myself anymore, because the heavens know how we loved the church. You see? Now, yeah, let's see. Okay, let's turn to this scripture, because it's very important. Yeah.
So we were like, check your phones, check emails. So Dinushka had actually messaged Tehani because she's been waiting for something. She's a little disappointed that she hadn't got the right, where's Dinushka? The right job for summer. And she said, check your mail, darling, check your mail now.
Yeah.
Baba, check email, expect a miracle. And he goes, oh, look, she's got it. She goes, oh my God, Mama, this is so crazy. So it's already started, yeah.
I just told you, every time my nose goes like that, it's just that there's something happening in the realm of the spirit, and it means angels are moving. Yeah, angels are moving, and at that point of time, I need to move into the miraculous, because it's happening right now. You're on your phone. It's happening right now. Okay, because God backs the word with miracles. Okay, if you go into 2 Chronicles, I want to show you 2 Chronicles. 2 Chronicles. Where was it? It was in 2 Chronicles, and this is when Solomon actually builds the temple. I want to show you with the Shema story. 2 Chronicles. Let's go into 2 Chronicles. Very hot, isn't it? Is it hot? Is it? Or am I just... Is it the zeal of my father's house? Yeah. I think it's the zeal of my father's house. Okay. 2 Chronicles. Solomon builds the temple. It's in 2 Chronicles. Hold on. After one more verse in 2 Samuel, and let me stop there, okay? But let's go into 2 Chronicles. I'll find it for you if someone else doesn't find it. Solomon builds a temple. Yeah? Is it 2? Yeah. Okay. Solomon builds a temple. Okay, I just want you to see something very cool, okay? Very, very cool. And this is why I love scriptures, because we'll go Solomon. Can we read a little bit before we go 2 Chronicles 2? And I'm going to take you into small pieces of it. Okay, but you don't have to read everything. I'll read it. Okay. So 2 Chronicles 2 starts off like this. Okay. It starts off with Solomon's military and economic power. Okay, that's the heading there. Okay, this is the New King James. And verse 13 says it like this in chapter 1. It says, so Solomon came to Jerusalem from whatever, and Solomon gathered chariots and horsemen, 1,000 chariots, 12,000 horsemen. I just want to show you the size of his army. And then it goes on. And then before it comes to Solomon builds a temple in chapter 3, chapter 2 says it in verse 17 like this. Chapter 2, verse 17 says it like this. Before it comes to chapter 3, then Solomon numbered all the aliens who were in the land of Israel after the census in which David, his father, had numbered them. Got it? And they were found to be 153,600. He goes on, okay? Say Solomon numbered. Okay? But you'll see that these people that he numbered, and he made, keep going up. 1,600 overseers to make the people work. Now these people were not people going to war. These were people who were building the temple. And so they've done research on these guys, and they said these guys were God's people. Okay, they were God's people, and he's now numbering how many people he has to build the temple. Okay, do you see that? But remember Solomon's father is David. Okay, so you see that, right? Then you go to chapter 3. So you see that he numbered this. Now remember he can't build the temple with an axe or anything like that. Okay, so they had to. There are. This is not in the Bible, but there are stories where how he did this. He would take it into a quarry, and they mark the place apparently where it's supposed to be cut, and the shama would come in and eat the rock. Today they have found bacteria and worms that actually eat rock. So we don't know what this could have been really there at the time, and it would have been in a certain place that there are actually worms that eat rock, limestone. Okay, so this could have been a big version of that. We don't know what it was, but he would mark the places in the quarry, and the worms would eat the rock exactly. Just imagine a temple built like that. Amazing. Okay, and so we wonder how the pyramids in Egypt were built. Like they had technology that were very different. Okay, now Solomon began to build the house of the Lord. You see it there? Okay, first he numbered the people who will work. Okay, and then he built the house of the Lord on Moriah, where the Lord had appeared to his father David at a place that David had prepared on the threshing floor of On and Arunai the Jebusite. You see there? And so I want you to turn with me we'll close this with 2 Samuel. Let's have a look at it here in 2 Samuel 24. Okay, we start from the beginning, okay? This is really interesting. Now, Solomon builds the temple, listen carefully, on a threshing floor of a guy called Arunai. Remember that? And then he numbers the people who are going to actually work, the workforce that is going to build this temple. Okay? So he has the shamir that is cutting it in the quarries, and the technology in the quarries was the shamir, but he had the people actually, God's people actually getting together, and he numbers them, and he says, I'm calling the people who are ready to do this. Okay, and he calls them, and those people start coming around and they start building the temple. And you get this story that he says that he built it on Arunai's threshing floor. Now, Arunai, a threshing floor was a place where they kept wheat, and it was at a angle of a mountain. And they had these things called threshing floors where wheat was threshed so that the real seed can be taken, the flour could be taken. So this was the story of David, and you'll understand why Solomon did it, and you see the difference. Now watch what happens here. Again, the anger of the Lord was aroused against Israel, and he moved David against them to say, go number Israel and Judah. You see it there? So again, his father now is numbering. Now listen to what happened, how this threshing floor, how this foundation became important to him. So the king said to Job, the commander of the army who was with him, go through all the tribes of Israel and Dan and Beersheba and count the people that I may know the number of the people. You see, he does the same thing, but what is he numbering and what is Solomon numbering? And that's the difference here. You see, what he's numbering is his strength in terms of his army. What Solomon is numbering is his strength in terms of people who are sold out for God. Completely different. Completely different. Okay? I'm not counting my money. I'm counting not even my people. I'm counting to the ones who are sold out and committed. That takes something to be sold out and committed, man. What does it mean to be sold out and committed? Okay? And then Joab, who is the head of his army, says, now he knows, he says, this is a guy, I want to remind you who David was. David is the guy who defeated Goliath, please. David is a guy, when he was young, I told you they all start young, and then something goes wrong, okay? David was the guy who, when Goliath came against him, he said, you know what, I don't need any of your armor. They tried to give him a sword, they tried to give him a helmet, they tried to give him the king gives him everything. He actually says, this is too heavy, man, for me. He says, you know what, I'll just take 5 stones, with these 5 stones I'll do it. He's the one who defeated Goliath, and they says after that he defeated all Goliath's brothers. His faith was in a different place when he started off young. But then you get a bit rich. Then you make a bit of money. Okay? And then, you were first giving the church 100,000 rupees. When you had nothing, when you have only 1,000,000 rupees a month, 100,000 rupees a month you give. Okay? When 100,000 rupees, you give 10,000 rupees. Then when you have 100,000 rupees, actually, when you start off like with 100,000 rupees a month, I remember a time I was doing like 100,000 rupees a month, you're giving everything to the church. What can you buy for 100,000 rupees? Nothing. So everything goes to the church. Even if you got 1,000,000 rupees, everything going to the church. But then you start making some real money. And then you start making some real money, and then you start questioning, what will Kirby do with none I just made? 100 million. What will you do with $10 million? And he's still given 100,000 or a million. Okay, this is what happened to this man. You see? And suddenly he's become. Don't worry about what I'll do. I have dreams. I dream every day for God. I dream about His people. I dream about His glory. Your business is to make the money. My business is to dream for God. Do you understand that? My business is to dream. Your business is to make the money. I'll do the dreaming. We both meet and we live for God. Okay, that's the church. That's the way the church was supposed to be. You see? And so suddenly he forgets that he's the one who defeated Goliath, and now he says, count how much money I have in my bank account. I need to do something for God, but I can't, because God had commanded him to go somewhere, to do something. But you know what? I need to count first. I need to see how much I have first. I need to be able to know how much, when Kirby is saying, okay, I want to go forward, how much I should pledge. You know what? Let me count how much money I have. How much money do I have coming in next month so that I can pledge for the next year? This is what people do. I have a dream. I'm your pastor, I have a dream. And I come and say, this is my dream. And they say, okay, but to do that, I have to, now this deal has to work out. That deal has to work out. And if this works out and this works out and this works out, then I will give you. Yeah. Counting. And by this time, Joab understood that everything he has ever had in his life was supernatural. Joab, his commander, had understood my guys who work for me, the guys who work around me, all that. They know everything I ever had is supernatural. Everything I've ever done has been just crazy. God has done crazy things. And he advises David, and he says, now may the Lord your God add to the people 100 times more than they are. And may the eyes of the Lord and the king see it. He said, once you are ready to fight giants with stones, once you took massive steps, trusting this God will bless you and give you a kingdom. Today you're counting how much you have once you got rich. And that's what he's saying. You see? And he challenges David. This guy is a really great guy. But David anyway says, no, just count it. I just need to know. I need to know before I go and do anything. Now I need to know. Now I have. It's not like those days. No, those days when I was like 100,000 rupees, 10,000, 100,000, 1 million rupees a month or whatever it is. It's peanuts. Now I have hundreds of millions. So now, now if a small thing even is big for me. You see? And now his heart had got fat. Stone. Hard. You see? And this is where God is challenging him. And David's heart, and then once he done it, and he counted, and Job comes and says, okay, boss, this is how much you have. This guy knew God. And he says, I like this one in verse 10. I like in some versions, it says it really nicely. It says it here in verse 10. It says, and David's heart condemned him after he had numbered the people. Wow. I wish I have a heart like that always. We sometimes we even miss it. We'll treat the things of God as small things. But he said, after he did it and he got the number, and he realized, oh man, God has really blessed me. Yeah, wow. This is really good. See, he got condemned and he said, man, what do you do? Why am I thinking and counting before I move for God now? I need to move for God just like I moved for God before. You see, I remember a time, 150 million rupees in debt, sitting in the ambassador office at that time, and thinking, this is after Alako's, before Alako's, I can't remember. And I've gone through many lessons in life, okay? I've been there many times. And at that point of time, I remember, at that time I was supporting this church guy I told you. I couldn't support him because now my company had gone bankrupt. I remember the first time, like, oh my God, I promised God I have to keep my commitment. I remember that time. And that time I was maybe giving a percentage, 10%, 20%, maybe to God at the time, Okay, and so at that point I remember I sat around the table there. I looked at everything I've lost. And I prayed a prayer that day. I said, God, raise me up again. Raise me up again. And I said, I'll give you 90% of my income. I'm not telling you to do that. This is me. That's why I'm here. I do that now. If I can't fast for 1 month or 2 months or 3 months, I can't get you to fast for 5 days now. Okay, so don't worry about it. Okay? I remember I said, God, Fiona and I, we prayed that day. We went back home, we prayed and said, Lord, Raise us up again. This is now 150 million in debt. I bought myself by this time a nice Gallant. My Gallant LOLC took from my hands on the road. They have this, stop the car, take the car. Okay. Okay. I remember. Okay. I had more than a Gallant. I had a whole lot of cars, but the last was the Gallant that was taken. And I said, God, you raise me up, I'll give you 90% of what I earn. I said, you raise me up again, Lord. I said, I'll live for you. I know what greed is now. I remember how I lost the money, but just living for myself. And God raised me up, man. God raised me up and raised me up and raised me up. And time again, He blessed me and blessed me and blessed me. And believe me, all that you see now, okay, 90%. My promise still holds. 90% goes to God. Okay? All my nice shoes and all, don't worry, that's all my money, not your money. Okay? All right? But I can do all that. Live very comfortably with my tent. Go around the world, do what I have to do. Very comfortable. Trust me. God has blessed me. And I can't tell you. I wish I can tell you, because if I tell you, these things will get in the paper, this and that. But if I tell you, man, our lives, what we do, who we know, what it takes. Some people, it's a joke. Some people, to raise 100, 200 million rupees, for me, it's like a snap of a finger. You get it? But money has become nothing. Money has become nothing. Because we don't want to live for money. We live for God. And we give our money to God. Because my businesses, what we do, we are consecrated instruments, consecrated for God. And God raises up, my God, from nothing to what we have today. I'll tell you. God is awesome. God is awesome. Solomon builds the temple out of stones that have not been carved out, not been toiled over, not been labored over. Fiona and Kirby de Lanerolle and Philip and Manju and Minoli and all these leaders here, we will build the church of God in the same way. Not with people who are coaxed into it, with you. But explaining to you why you need to live. I don't want your 10%. Yeah. Oh, wow. I must say that. I don't want your 10%. I don't want your 20%. I don't even want your 90%. I want your life. Because with us, we are not playing around. We've given our life to Jesus. We live our lives in an authentic way. Okay, we live our lives, it's an open book. But we want your life. If I have to get something done, I want to get something done. That's it. Whether it costs you 10%, 5%, 2%, or everything, it's irrelevant. We need your life because we are walking a journey together. That's what it means to do church. If you want to do church, I want to do it right. Do you understand that? I remember a time when we sat with all our leaders. We sat around the room, Muru was there, and I told them, guys, we've been doing this for the church for so many years, and it's time that now you all take over. And I'll tell you, it didn't take 10 minutes or less than that we raised all the money for all the meetings just with the leaders. 10 minutes. Guys just lifted their hands up and said, okay, our businesses are consecrated for you. What do you want for the church, for the lights, whatever you want? All of them consecrated. It didn't take the same. I went to the USA. I spoke to them. I told them the same thing. It didn't take 10 minutes for us to raise funds, everything that we need for the church. You understand that? I'm looking at the land. I don't care about temples. This can be a square or a triangle. Okay. It's just a shell. The land is a shell. The building is a shell. There's no miracles that happen in shells. Miracles happen with consecrated people whose conscience is clean, who don't come to use, who come to say, I want to be a part of something great. I want to be a part of what God is doing. This is my church, this is my family, these are my people. We're not going to get titles for this. But I need you all to support what we're doing. We need to get on TV in the USA. Do you know how much that costs? I covered it in the USA. I covered it. We'll be on TV in a couple of weeks. Yeah, in the USA, yeah. Yeah. I need to build a church in Dallas. I'm just about to build a church in Dallas. I asked people on the last day, I said, how many people, if you build a church in Dallas, how many people come? 50 people stood up. And there is not a whole lot of people who want to leave wherever they are in the world, in America, and come to Dallas just because we're going to start a church. We are taking the gospel to the USA, not the other way around. Come on. Because they value what we have. Do you know how much those things cost to get on TV in the USA? We spoke to one guy on TV there, and Elena called and said, okay, why we want to get on TV? How much does it cost? And the whole thing. And started talking and said, hey, WOWLife Church. He said, oh, what an honor to have you all on our channel. I've been watching you all for 7 years. Can you believe it? Yeah. USA. So we got plans. But don't want to leave you behind. We don't want to leave any one of you behind. Speak to your coach. Be like the leaders. Don't say, hey, what do I need to do to be consecrated? To be a consecrated business for WOWLife Church. I want to be a part of it. I just don't want to be another thing. And people like that, those are the living stones that I want to make this thing. Whether we build a square, a triangle, or whatever. We looked at the land. It's over $1 billion rupees. I'm not going to take you all the way down to some. I can build you a place in Vattala at a moment of time. My factory there, $300 million. I can put it there. I'll put it in tomorrow. And we can build a factory there. But no, we buy it in Colombo. We buy it in Colombo. I don't want to inconvenience you. You understand? My friends, don't sit on a corner. Be a part of that. We will do it. Because God has blessed us. God has blessed us. We have good partners. We have good friends. But be a part of that. Talk to your coach group and say, you know what, I want to be a part of that. I want to consecrate my business. I want to consecrate my life. Enough of me just being on the side of this thing. I don't just want to be a spectator anymore. I want to be a part of the glory that is in your life. And I can promise you this, I'm not trying to bribe you, okay? Test God and see. You deal with him. Okay, you deal with him. You deal with him. Yeah, come on.
I just got a message from my bank, overseas bank. They have promoted me to a category that I could have never dreamt of. I don't have the balances in the bank, but they have just chosen to promote me.
Wow, just now, huh? Just now. Yeah, your bank upside down. This is happening now. I told you these angels. You see? So we got plans, we got dreams. We love Jesus. We want to live for him. We want his nation and the world to know him. The way we know him. Isn't that cool? Isn't the way you know Jesus so cool? You know? And so, guys, come on. We're about our Father's business. I'll see you. I would love to prophesy over you and stuff like that. I got a lot of prophetic words, but I think I've done well with the message. But let me say this, okay? Let me just lift your, because there these testimonies that Philip just said, just get up and just stand, just lift your hands up. I'm going to release this favor right now. And I want to release this favor, but also right now I want you to be open to the Lord and hear my stories and say, Lord, if that's you, if that is you in the house, and if you want to say, Lord, you know, I want to live for you. You don't have to give a 90% like I gave. Some of you might have to. Depends on how greedy you are. Okay? God will challenge you, right? Okay? All right? So, say, Lord, I want a miracle. I want change my finances. I want to live for you. I want to be like, just imagine, you can put your hands down for a moment. I'll just explain to you what you're doing. Just imagine if Darren leaves the church. Just imagine what kind of problem I will have. Darren Madhusekar, and Darling and his wife, Anvita. Okay? But what happens if he leaves the church? Just imagine what will happen. I will be in desperate need because he's an integral part of my ministry. Think about it, huh? What happens if Dirain, the worship team, or Julius, or Ezra leaves the church? They are a part of the ministry. They're not spectators here. I want to explain to you. The other people, what they like is they want to have people who come and give 10% to their pastor.
With living stones.
I don't want that. Yeah. Otherwise, do you know how many messages I have about tithing? Do you know how many messages I have? hundreds to justify that tithing is a part of the church. Have I preached a message on tithing? Maybe the last time, I think 1 year ago, it is the full gospel. You have to preach on tithing. But I don't preach it. Because I don't want, why is it so hard for someone to think, I want to live for God. If God has blessed me, at least 10%, but I don't want your 10%. Because I think that's a bribe. I'll get insulted if you give me 10%. Because I never gave 10%. Just imagine that you have in a relationship with a wife, or you have a relationship with I'm trying to say, or a relationship with another person, you're a friendship. Okay? And you have a friendship with someone, in that friendship with someone, you only give 10%. You walk with this guy and you eat with him, drink with him, you do everything with him. But then when it comes to your life, you only give him 10%. But he gives you all. So I don't want this 10% church. I think these 10% churches that preach on 10% churches, they're selling the gospel cheap. Why do you want to sell your gospel for 10%? I don't want 10%. I want living stones. I want sold out people. I want people to say, what do you want? What do you want? We'll make it happen. I want people like that. We don't have to prove to you that we don't want your money. I don't need to constantly harp on that. I don't need it. But we need sold out people to say, God, use me. Raise me up because I will live for you and I will die for you. We need people like that. And that's not 10%. That's not, it's an insult when people ask for 10% at a church. We don't want 10%. We want your all. That's not money. We want your heart. We want your mind. We want your soul. We want you to be immersed. Hasn't this blessed you? Then dive in. Immerse yourself. Come on. Why do we want to live a hypocrisy for the gospel? God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, and then we give him 10%. What a sad exchange. Just imagine, God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten. God so loved that he gave his only. And then we say we'll give 10%. Sad, man. Sad. We're not going to preach that kind of stuff. We're about our Father's business. And we want you to be consecrated businesses and careers into this church. And you can have all. It doesn't matter. As long as you know you're living for God. And you know that when God raises you up, it is for the body of Christ. For my God, what can't we do if you were rich? What can't we do if you made it? What can't Jesus do through the church if you were raised up? But first, your conscience has to be pure. It can't be out of toil and labor and effort and people coaxing you and you're doing it out of your own thing. It has to be out of your own will. And that's why I'm saying I don't want 10%. You do it out of your own will. You decide, look, this is how much you want to give God. I'm going to live for God. This is how much I'm going to give God. Now lift your hands up. And that's you. I'm praying for you right now. Father, in Jesus' name, I ask you to bless these people. There are people who are making contracts in their heart, Lord. There are people who are feeling in their heart, they're saying, God, you know what? I want to bless the church. I want to make sure that, the dreams that the leaders have in this church, that we can do everything that God has planned us to do. I want to live for you. I want to really live for you. I don't want to live for money. It stinks to live for money. I want to live for you. I don't want to live for money. And Father, for those people, Lord, even right now, just like you did with Philip, just do those amazing miracles, signs, and wonders that you've done for me, my leadership, and everyone who consecrated himself for your glory. Oh God, stretch out your hand and do miracles, signs, and wonders in your holy name of Yahushua, Jesus, the mighty Son. I prophesy over you that even today as you go home, even tomorrow as you look at your emails, even day after as you step into your work, as you made your consecrated heart towards God, I promise you, the blessing is going to come because money and its love is the root of all evil. And this time you've shown that you love God. Bless you, WOWLife Church, okay? Pastors, I want you to come up. I want you to come up, pastors. I want you to know that these pastors, when they come up here, they don't just come up. It's so important that you get them to lay hands on you because they have come up praying. Some of them have fasted. They actually set themselves apart for this day. They don't just suddenly turn up here. They prayed for you. And therefore, get them to lay hands on you. If you need a miracle, get them to lay hands on you. And if you are sick, only if you are sick and you need a healing, then come up to me. But the others can go up to the pastors. Okay, thank you.